Okay, everybody, good afternoon. My name is Chris Nappy. I'm a natural resource officer here for the town of Barnstable. I'll be the hearing officer today. I'll just have a few kind of things to go through first before we get started. So the town manager scheduled a hearing under the provisions of Chapter 140, Section 157 of Mass General Law, that today, Monday, August 28, 2023, at, let's see, the time is now 1:07, based on a complaint received regarding a dog harbored by Miss Nancy Mrzglod. The complaint states that there is an excessive barking in which is in violation of the Town of Barnstable dog regulation, specifically Chapter 403-15. The hearing takes place at Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Massachusetts, in the Selectmen's Conference Room on the second floor, which is where we are. So I should note that this hearing is being recorded, so anything you say will be public record. So any individuals that plan on providing testimony, if you could raise your right hand. Okay, at this hearing, would you please, do you solemnly swear that the evidence you are about to give in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, thank you. So, at first, how we'll start this, I just want to mention anybody that is providing testimony will go through me. No talk back and forth across the table at all. You're discussing this with me, and then we'll just kind of keep the conversation rolling, okay? So if there's any sort of rebuttal with one party has to say, you'll say that to me and not interrupt anybody while they're trying to bring up points, okay? At this point, I'll take testimony from individuals making or in support of the complaint. So that's Mr. Schufelt.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nappy, and Animal Control Officer Cindy. I've got two statements I'd like to read to the record, one from myself and one from my wife. My name is Eric Schufelt. In the past 10 months or so, we have been dealing with the consistent and excessive nuisance barking of the dog known as Reggie. In October of 2022, I first talked with NRO Nappy about the dog barking next door to our home and asked what I or we could do about it. NRO Nappy said he would do a drive-by to see if he could hear or see the dog. He did not. He did a drive-by at some time later and contacted me that he had not heard anything, so he had no cause to stop, but the barking continues. NRO Nappy suggested that we talk with the owner of the dog to see if they would quiet the dog. In mid-November, I went over to the owner's home. Reggie was barking heavily inside the house, and the TV was blaring as well. I knocked on the door and rang the doorbell a number of times until an older woman came to a side window and yelled, "What do you want?" I explained who I was, the location of my home, and that could she please quiet or stop the dog from barking. At that point, she said, "What do you want me to do, kill it?" I said that there were other options, but the barking was bothersome in my yard, 300 feet away. She just walked away inside the house. The beginning of November and parts of December, we were away. January and February, the dog kept barking, but windows and doors with storms were shut. We were trying to deal with it. As March and spring came along, we could hear the barking dog louder again as we went over. So we went over to talk with the owner once again. When she came to the door, we knocked at. She was dismissive and said there was nothing she could do, and shut the door. At this point, I spoke with Animal Control Officer Sherman for further options that we could take. ACO Sherman said that she would talk with the dog's owner about the dog license and dog barking issue. ACO Sherman got back to me sometime later and conveyed that she had talked with the owner and was resolving the license problem that she talked about the nuisance barking. The barking continued for a month, and with spring here, doors and windows open, the barking seemed worse than ever. I asked ACO Sherman what else we could do to stop the noise, and she suggested taking a nuisance by reasonable excessive barking complaint out with the town manager's office, and keep a log of date and time duration of dog barking. So here we are, August 2023. The dog is still barking. I have submitted copies of the dates and times the dog has been barking when I filed the complaint, and have continued recording them since August 1st. I have a copy of those since August 1st. One final word. We didn't want to bring to the authorities this situation, but with no consideration from our neighbor for us or others, this seemed our only option. I also have a statement from my wife. She couldn't make it today because she's in Boston working. If that's okay with you.
Yep, you can read that in.
To the dog hearing officer from Laura Schufelt, RE dog nuisance hearing for Mraz Gold, August 28th, 2023. Unfortunately, I cannot attend the hearing due to work obligations. However, I wanted to share my experience that contributed to this complaint. I work from home at least 3 days a week. As noted in our record of dog barking, it is constant throughout the day. Where there are gaps in the record on days I'm working from home, it is for one reason or other. Either our Windows AC are on and covers the noise of the dog barking, or I'm too busy to record it. The barking is so loud and annoying, even given the distance between our house and the dog. While on Zoom at meetings or presentations, I am asked what kind of a dog I have. I have heard on a Zoom, to be heard on a Zoom presentation, background noise must be significant and unacceptable when it's a neighbor's dog. The owner does nothing to stop the barking unless we get fed up and yell over for her to stop it, which only happens when we are trying to enjoy our deck and cannot carry on a conversation. We have tried to talk to her about the issue, both last fall and beginning in the spring this year, but have been ignored or rebuffed. I believe it is the dog's owner's responsibility to control their dog. Leaving a dog outside barking sometimes it's in the open screen door, or sometimes it's at the open screen door for 15 to 20 minutes per hour is irresponsible and unfair to us and the dog. Thank you, Laura Schufelt. So this is a packet. Is this one I want to give? No. 1 second. Okay, those are those two letters, and since August 1st, the continued dog recordings, written recordings, to add on to the original complaint.
Okay, yeah, I'll just restate that. Just to note, Mr. Schufelt is submitting the letter that he just read, the two letters that he just read from himself and his wife, and then the handwritten note of times that he's recorded the dog barking. Looks like it's starting in August of, and this is 2023?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's in addition to what was submitted in the complaint. The
Okay.
3 months or so before.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, I'll take testimony from the dog owner, individual supporting the dog owner.
If I may, and I'll have her affirm everything, it's an informal proceeding.
Right.
She gets very nervous in speaking in public and asks me to come
Okay.
talk on her behalf. With all respect to Mr. Schufelt and his wife, we think there might be a little bit of a misunderstanding. I want to present you a map of the area, and I just hand wrote this out, so there's a little bit difference, but just lists who's who. And you can see number 15 is that property right there.
Yes.
That's my client's, and this is the Schufelt's property right there.
Right.
We have two letters from two other neighbors. One who lives directly abut, and then the one across the way, White, and Luce, Thomas Luce. And I'm not going to get in and read the entire letters, but they basically say that there's 7 dogs in the neighborhood, that my client's dog is not a problem. And we suggest to you that the neighbor between the Schufels and my clients, who up until this summer had 2 dogs and now has 1 dog, that that there might be some confusion as to who's barking. As indicated in some of the records, the hearing the dog officer went to the property and actually came on one of the days when there was insistent barking, and that we don't, and no indication, are trying to say that there's not some barking in the neighborhood, but I think there might be some confusion with respect. And if you look to the map, the property, which is number 5, is where they had the 2 dogs. And if you look also at the dog records, there's a log which indicates that there was a complaint at one point in time of dogs, D-O-G-S, barking, multiple dogs. And my client has never owned multiple dogs and just the 1. And with respect to the issue, the dog is a poodle, and though it does not appear he has a barking issue, it does have an issue going to the bathroom and sometimes in the house and whatnot like that. And my client has hired a professional dog trainer who I'll have talk to you in a moment. And because of that, they actually keep a log of the dog going to the bathroom and have over the period of time. And based upon that log, my client keeps fairly accurate records. She's a former school assistant superintendent, pretty accurate woman, and is going to state that on many of the occasions at the times alleged by the complainant, specifically 5:22 in the afternoon, 5:31, 6:02 in the a.m. and p.m., 6:11, 6:15, 6:16, 6:21, 7:04, and 7:31. In fact, she was out of the house with the dog. Generally, if she's not home, not always, but quite often when she's not home, the little pup comes with her. And that she's specifically saying that these times and dates when there was a complaint of barking, the dog wasn't even on the property. And again, we would suggest to you that the property located at 5 Pioneer is more than likely the culprit in that circumstances. And if you look, I provided you with the map. I also have an aerial photograph of the property. And if you see the trees and vegetation and things of that nature, the ability of a dog inside the house to have that level of noise, travel approximately 300 feet, even if the dog, we suggest to you that, again, it's, I'm not suggesting that the Schufels are making up barking. We just think that they're confused as to which property it's coming from. And that is the situation here. And my client, I'll have the dog trainer just explain a little bit about the dog and some of the instances where she's had the dog in the backyard trying to train it, where she's heard insistent barking from number 5. And if you also, again, look at the property lines of, based upon the statements, in particular Mr. Luce, who's literally probably 30, 40 feet away, and he's indicated that there's no barking, and I suggest to you, if it's from 5 Pioneer Path, he wouldn't hear it. But if it was from 35 Pioneer Path, he clearly would hear it. The dog's mostly inside. We're not saying that this dog never barks. I mean, it's a dog. It does bark. It'll bark if there's like a squirrel in the yard or if someone comes up to the door. I know that when if a stranger's in the house, it does bark. But my client lives there with her 94-year-old mother. There's not a lot of people in the house, so there's not all these times for the dog to be barking incessantly. So I'm just going to let you can you tell your story a little bit there?
Sure. We were outside training.
Sorry, could you state your name,
I'm sorry,
please?
Cheryl Benson.
Thank you.
And we were outside training one afternoon, and the dog next door barked throughout the whole hour that I was there. It wasn't a panicked bark. It wasn't an aggressive bark. It just barked, and it was, consistent.
A neighbor's dog.
A neighbor's dog.
Okay.
In the 2 years I've been working with Reggie, he's gone on walks. He doesn't bark at people. He doesn't bark at other dogs. He has been, we've been working on different behavior and getting him out and more socialized. But if a dog comes to a door, if a person comes to the door that the dog doesn't know, comes on the property, it's appropriate for a dog to bark.
And how long ago was this?
How long ago was this? About a month ago.
Okay, a month, okay. And, sir, you stated that the neighbors had 2 dogs until recently. Is that changed?
One died.
One passed away.
And that's fairly recently?
I guess the summer. On or about, roughly. My client thinks it was in July.
Okay, so 1 dog since July, and then continued barking records since then. So, okay. So I'll take testimony from animal control, please.
My name's Cindy Sherman, Animal Control Officer for the town of Barnstable, and our first, like I said, our first complaint that was received about these dogs was in September, and there was no barking heard at that time. And I did have conversations with Mr. Schufelt in the early spring where I explained his options to him and how the proceedings work, and at that time he was trying to work it out himself between the neighbor informally. And come May, I did have a conversation with the owner of the dog, Miss Glad, and at that time, the dog was not licensed. She did comply with the licensing right away. I explained the barking bylaws. We discussed all of that. The dog was barking incessantly while I was there, which obviously is to be expected. I did not really hear, too much of other dogs in the neighborhood. When I pulled up, there was no barking. So when I did, while I was standing at the door talking with her, her dog was barking consistently, obviously, because I was standing right there. So at that time, I had done a few different patrols, hadn't really heard anything. I had informal conversations with Mr. Schufelt about, he told me that he didn't want to do anything else further at that point. On June 23rd, I did give Mr. Schufelt the request form to fill out, and at that time he wasn't quite ready to submit that just yet. He was hoping that things were going to get better. On June 19th, we did have a formal complaint where I did go out and speak with Ms. Marsgold, and she told me that she was working with a trainer and that she did, admit that there was a problem with the barking, and she told me that she was instructed by the trainer to put the dog in another room alone and ignore that behavior to try and deter that. And she had, because at that point, that particular day, the dog had been barking for an hour and a half. And she said that she was not home at that time, and her mother didn't know enough to put the dog in the bedroom when she was not at home. So, clearly there was a little bit of, situation. I personally did not observe the barking, but that conversation, she did say she was working on with a trainer to help that situation.
Okay. Ms. Benson, are you working with the dog for barking issues, or, I'm sorry, you guys indicated that the training was for something else?
All
Yeah.
behavior, that particular barking issue that she's talking about was because she had construction people or pool people, I can't recall which, on the property. And the dog had never been exposed to people being on the property
Okay.
for a long period of time.
Okay.
The fact that, did someone hear Reggie bark for an hour and a half?
Well, that was the
Reggie's a
complaint I received.
sound
The complaint I
poodle.
received was from the Schufelts that the dog had been barking for an hour and a half. And when I spoke with Ms. Marsglad, she explained to me that she was not home at the time, so it was possible. And she said that, the dog, like I said, she had been working with the dog and putting the dog in the bedroom when the dog would start barking, and only reward good behavior and not the barking and things like that.
Okay.
May I, through the chair? Yeah. My client's just pointing out, she takes copious notes. On that day in question, the neighbor's dog, when the pool people were there, was the one that we believe was barking. There may have been some barking with Reggie when people come in the house and things like that, but consistent with the trainer, when people were in the backyard, the neighbor's dog was continuously barking, according to my client.
Okay.
At that time. And again, with all respect to the complainants, I think there might be some confusion as to who's causing the problem.
Okay.
And that's the issue here, is that it's not this little puppy who's 300 yards away, it's this bigger dog who's 60 or 70 yards away.
Okay.
And 70 feet away.
And Ms. Benson, are you seeing an improvement with the dog's barking since you've been working with it, or its behavior?
He doesn't bark very much.
Okay.
He's not a barker.
Okay.
So, the fact that Reggie could bark for an hour and a half seems really kind of odd to me, because I have not witnessed that. We've been out with other people, other dogs, and we haven't seen that.
And if you look at the configuration of the two houses, and looking at the complainant's house, we think it's easy, if there is a dog tucked in that back portion of number 5, Pioneer, that it would be easy to confuse the noise coming from my client's house. And looking at the map.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like all the backyards kind of face each other, like the houses are not configured, like really facing the road, so backyards kind of face the other person's house.
And if there was two dogs in there before and they're barking at pool people who come to my client's yard for an hour and a half, then
Yeah.
that would be consistent with an understandable mistake. And these things happen. And, I'm not out here to be disrespectful to the complainants.
I understand.
I don't think they're making things up that they're hearing noises. It's just, I think we think that they're mistaking it where those noises are coming from.
Mhm. And Mr. Schufald, you have something else to add?
I do. First of all, the Ryans, who are in between Nancy's house and mine, there were two. One was a black lab, and the other is a pug. Earlier, or mid-spring, plus or minus, is when the black lab passed away. Approximately a year and a half, 2 years ago, the folks that own that house, Michelle and Chris Ryan, split up. Michelle Ryan had taken the dogs and been taking the dogs to her South Yarmouth home. Once in a while, usually once or so a week, once or so a month, their little dog will be there now. The black lab never barked. I never heard that dog bark a single time in the 7-8 years that they've lived there, 6-7 years they've lived there. The smaller dog did bark on occasion, and all you do is you call her name out, she just quiets right down. But that little dog is not there. It's there maybe once a month at this point because of whatever's going family-wise with the Ryans. I am not confused, as Attorney Lawler said, about whose dog is barking. I know exactly whose dog is barking. The dog Reggie has a different bark than the pug that the Ryans have. It's a high bark. He barks 3 or 4 times in a row and then stops and barks, stop, barks. So I'm not confused on whose dog is who. There's one dog in the Ryans, very rarely there. The dog at Rosglod is the one that is barking, that we're making the complaints about. There's no confusion on my part or my wife's. Now, obviously, Ms. Rosglod sees that there's a problem with her dog barking. Otherwise, she would not have hired Ms. Benson here. I don't understand the confusion of what dog is what. I know exactly whose dog it is. It's her dog that's barking that's making the nuisance problem. And other dogs in the neighborhood, if they're barking, I don't hear those. Hers are right, as you can see with the map here, if they come out of her house or there's a sliding glass door or a French door there or something, if she's barking like that, it's right over to our house, which is further over on the side. And I've heard times when I've called over to her through the woods, and she's yelling at the dog to come in the house and get in the house. So anyway, that's what I have to say.
Okay.
Through the chair, just a rebuttal. My client writes right here that there's an issue of fact here. My client says that the Bryans did split up, but that she sees and hears that dog virtually every single day. So that's going to be an issue.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So Ms. Marsglod did state to me when I was at her house that she felt as though there was a neighbor's dog barking. I have witnessed the black lab at number 5 lying in the front yard. And I know that I was told that the pug is there on occasion, but I have not witnessed the pug there. Not to say that it's not ever there or barking. I'm not saying that. But the only dog I have witnessed is the black lab, and I know the pug isn't there full time, but whether it's there on those occasions, I don't know.
Okay.
Can I make a comment through the chair?
1 second. Ms. Benson, you had something else to add?
I want to be clear that I've been Reggie's dog trainer for 2 years, and it's not just
2
about
years.
barking. We've been training with
Right.
obedience and behavior and general manners and socialization. So it's not been I wasn't hired just for the barking. I will also say that on occasion, the child that lived next door has taken the dogs for a walk and had very little control over them, the black lab and the pug. And on the occasions that I've been there, I've heard the pug bark, and he did bark for a full hour.
Mr. Schufelt, you had something else to add?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The other thing is that Nancy always is in the yard when Reggie is outside. There's a reason for that, because there's coyote in the neighborhood. Dogs on the other side bark when the coyotes are around. So that dog is not outside by itself.
Mr. Schubert.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate just a little bit on, we did not make up these times.
I didn't
And
suggest you did.
I'm just saying this to the chair. Between my wife and I, we've got close to 3 months worth of times here where this dog's been barking. I know the difference between the two dogs barking. I'm sure Ms. Benson can understand. She knows the difference between one bark and another. None of this has been made up. We don't want to be here. We didn't want to go through this, but this is where the record shows that we've written down, and we're close to 3 or 4 months worth of barking that we've recorded. So.
Okay. And did you have something else to add?
No, I think that's
Okay.
pretty much it.
Okay. And anything else from you guys? Okay. All right, so with all of this information, we'll have to kind of take this into account. It might take a little longer to come up with a solution that will hopefully benefit both sides long-term. We don't want to see, obviously, a continuation of frustrations on both sides. So hopefully it's something that we can just resolve fairly easily. You guys are working with a trainer, and I'd like to see that continue. So what I can do is, I guess I'm not going to make a determination today on any sort of things that we'll do in the future regarding the dog, whether it's barking or not. It may require further investigation by animal control just to see if they're hearing barking occurring, and if the Schufelds call our office when that's occurring so we can, get out there right away. That might be a necessary step in moving forward. So, yeah, I think that's probably the best way to continue. I'll get back to you, the interested parties, with some solutions that we can hopefully move forward. Okay.
Great, thank you.
All right. So, yeah, thank you all for providing testimony. I'm sure it's frustrating and nobody really wants to be involved in these, but we can come to a solution. So the time is now 1:38, and we'll close the hearing.